This is another one of our community picks, and I was really glad that it was chosen because I think it's really fascinating. For me, I get a real sense of like space and depth. The white border, the white kind of poking through the bits of color. And I was wondering if the white border perhaps reminded anybody a physical object in the world.
I see marbles.
You see marbles. Okay.
I also
That's not at all where I'm going, but that's great.
Yeah, I'm
So where I'm going with this is when I first saw it, I was like, this is a Polaroid picture with the thicker white border at the bottom and the white all around it. This looks exactly like a Polaroid to me. I know that the image inside of it, you're probably like, that doesn't look like a photograph at all. But one of the really cool things that you can do with a Polaroid is you can manipulate it, and you can kind of use your hands or your tools to kind of blur the image, even remove the emulsion itself and put it onto something else. So Polaroid started in the 1940s as, instant photography. It was really marketed towards amateurs and to families, but it actually continued to court artists, and they had this really fabulous studio that they would invite big name artists to come into and play with. They would give them free film. And then in the 1970s, something happened where they came out with a camera called the SX70. And the SX70 had a really special type of film where it came out and you didn't have to like peel back any paper. It just like the image popped out complete. And artists started figuring out that while it developed, you could start manipulating it. And so they started doing all of these crazy things with it. And that included emulsion transfers. And here we see a work by Aida Muluneh, who's an Ethiopian artist. This is her work Foundation from 2000. And this is actually 3 separate Polaroid images where she lifted the emulsion, the sticky image part of the Polaroid, and she transferred it to a ceramic tile to make this kind of composed portrait of this person's face. And when you do this, you can see how it's, they're squares, but they're like distorted. They're like, wrinkled in places, kind of like the woman's face or the person's face. I don't know if it's a man or a woman. You can see like the edges are kind of, like loopy, and that's because this emulsion is really like sticky and fragile. And it'll start sticking to itself. So you have to do this kind of quickly and carefully, but it always it doesn't come out as a perfect square. And going back to Ethereal number 419, it's the like jagged edges and kind of the ways in which the blue like looks like it's been kind of pulled back and pulled apart. I was like, this is a Polaroid transfer. This like is exactly what that looks like in my head, even though I would guess the computer wasn't actually, scanning a whole lot of images of Polaroid transfers in its algorithm to generate these things. It still comes up with this thing that to me really evokes this object that I've seen in space.